Joining me again to listen to this week's 3-minute Devar. This week's Torah portion is Parshat Va'era. Va'era is possibly one of the most famous Bible stories where we learn of the Jewish people's slavery in Egypt. God commands Moses and Aaron to go and plead with Pharaoh to let the Jewish people go. And as we know, Pharaoh consistently refuses to give in to God's demands. And plague after plague doesn't convince Pharaoh to let them go until finally, after 10 plagues, Pharaoh lets them go. This week's portion of Va'era talks about the first 7 plagues, and next week's portion talks about the final 3, and the exodus from Egypt as well. What's interesting about the way God tells Moses and Aaron to bring the plagues, or one of the interesting things about that, is that the first 2 plagues, the blood and the frogs, had something to do with the River Nile. The River Nile in the first plague of blood the water turned to blood, as did all the water in Egypt, and the frogs as well emerged from the River Nile. And the way God told Moses and Aaron to bring about these plagues was to take their staff and strike the water. For the first 2 plagues, God makes it very clear that it's Aaron, not Moses, who should bring about the plague. And the rabbis explain the reason is because Moses was saved by the River Nile. When Moses was a young baby, his mother places him in the River Nile in a basket because there was the evil decree from Pharaoh that all the baby boys had to be thrown into the River Nile and killed and drowned. And the River Nile helped save Moses. And as a result of that, God says Aaron should be the one to bring about the plague through the water, not Moses, because Moses has gratitude, and Moses needs to have gratitude to the water for saving him, and therefore he can't be the one that brings about a plague to the water. Unbelievable that God is demanding or requesting or teaching Moses that even to something inanimate like water, one needs to feel grateful, because gratitude isn't about expressing it to the other person, or isn't only about expressing it to the other person. Gratitude is about recognizing, or having the humility to recognize, that you have something as a result of someone or something else. If God was looking for Moses to feel grateful, even to the River Nile, even to water which doesn't think and doesn't feel, then how much more so do we need to think about how grateful we need to be to people, to human beings, to those who do think and feel. Gratitude is one of the hardest things for us to do, because it requires us to admit to something. It requires us to recognize that we have something as a result of someone else. Naturally, we human beings want to feel independent. We don't want to think about the fact that someone else did something for us. But the message of the water and the frogs, the fact that it had to be through Aaron, teaches us that gratitude is so important that even something like water, which doesn't think or feel, one needs to really think about the gratitude one has for that as well. Thank you so much for listening again. Shabbat Shalom.